Hi there, welcome back to my channel Scrap and Coffee. I have a somewhat unfinished project here lying in front of me that I just put together and filmed it, of course. But in here I have a page design that I designed actually for the recipe album that I released I think at the end of last year. And this page design didn't make that album, but I really liked the design and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I thought, let's use it on something and let's show you how you can use one page to create a folio with one page, right? So you can use any page design out of any album that you have or you have seen online or tutorial that you own. For this version it does need to be a tunnel page base, basically, because we're going to work with a hinge. So with some simple math I'm going to show you how I created the page, how I've constructed this page, because it's not in any of my albums. So I show you that, and you can use that to make a larger album if you want to, but you can also use it to make this folio with only one page in it. So I show you how to construct a page, and then I show you, once you have that one page that you want to use, how to do the math work to create the cover for it. And then as you can see here, I only have a cover and the page in here, but you can definitely add elements on your front and back side cover as well. I just haven't done it yet. So yeah, that's what this video is going to be about, showing you how you can make one page into a quick folio. So I hope you're gonna enjoy it. The tutorial is going to start right away. Okay, so let's put this page together. All my pieces are prepared and we are going to start off with making a tunnel page with our pieces A and B. So let's fold on the score lines of piece B. Of course, I'm already losing my stuff. Here is my bone folder. And burnish those score lines so we can create that tunnel page. So this should line up on all four sides. If you want to, you can taper your half inches on this part. I don't always do it. And I'm always a little bit slow with this because I want everything to line up as perfect as I can. Which is not really the case right now. Okay, I'm happy with this. That's one side, and then we can do the other side. Okay, there we are. So we've created that tunnel page slash binding page, and for this first version of the folio you're gonna need this as a base because we're gonna make the folio wrap with a hinge. So next up is piece C, and that's going to be the piece that needs the most work. This is going to form a large pocket. Turn it over to the bumpy side, and on the bumpy side I have already prepared a frame. A 5/8 inch frame. So in order to get a 5/8 inch frame, on the three sides where you have a score line, you will draw a line 1 1/8 of an inch away from your cut edge on all three sides with a score line. And then on the side where there is no score line, you draw your line 5/8 of an inch away from the cut edge. So that's what I've already prepared. So next up I'm going to find the center on the long side of my piece. So this piece is 10 inches, so 5 from both sides should be the center. So I mark that on two places so I can draw a straight line. Well, let's draw that line. And then from that line I'm going to draw a second line 3/8 of an inch away from that line. So with this ruler that's really easy. I can just line up that 3/8 inch grid and draw that line there. and I'm going to do that also towards the other side. So with 3/8 inch. So that makes the space between those two lines 3/4 of an inch. Oh. Okay, and then I'm going to cut out these two rectangles that we've created here. So we're going to create 2 windows in here. So don't erase the center line, we're going to need it in a second, but also make sure that you use the right line to cut your frame out. And then we can cut this out. So however you like to do that, right? Okay, it should be out. That's 1. And that is 2. So don't throw that away. You can use that for backing some embellishments or something. And then you have your 2 pieces of acetate. I've already put some tape around the edges of the acetates, but I also like to do that around the edges of the cardstock. So that, again, that's whatever you prefer. I just like to have both sides to have good stick. So I'm rather quickly going to put tape around this edge here. Okay, let's give that a burnish quickly. Always burnish your tape for a good stick. And then I'm just going to place 1 piece of acetate and then the other one, of course. But I'm just removing the tape for one before I do the other one. Okay, so when I'm placing this, I'm going to make sure that I stay in between my score lines. But also I'm trying not to go over the pencil line that marks the center of the piece. So just try to keep your eye on that a little bit as well. Just stay away from that. And then I burnish on the tape only, right? To try not to damage the acetate. And then I'm going to do the other one. Okay, same thing. Don't go over that line in the center. And again burnish. So now our 2 pieces of acetate are in place. Now you could leave it like this and then you have, sorry for the background noise. So what I wanted to say was you could leave it like this and then you have one big bucket with 2 windows. Of course we're gonna fold over. But what I did is I've made a little bumper in the middle and those are your pieces C1. So piece C1 is a 3/4 inch piece that is scored at the 1/2 inch mark, and then you've placed tape on the dented side on both sides. So you need to use a little bit of a smaller tape on that 1/4 inch part. Let me see if I can make that a 3/8 inch part so you could place your 1/4 inch tape, because I think most people have that. Yeah, that's going to be a little tight. So that's why the 1/4 inch, of course. I need to do one more thing. Let's place some tape here on this side so I can miter the corners. Okay, so after the tape I can miter so I can fold over the flaps, because the long side I need that for a second. So I need to fold over this long side so I can mark, and I can only do that here in between the acetate now, to where this flap is going. So when I place this piece, I'm not going over that, I'm going to stay a little bit above that. With this measurement you should be safe with that. And also don't go over here on the top. So the 1/4 inch side is the side that you're going to stick down here, basically on top of your acetate, and line up the folded edge with the line that marks the center. So you're going to make sure that you stay above the mark here that marks this flap, and don't go over on this side. So basically just give yourself like 1/8 of an inch space in between those two places, the cut edge and that mark. And this is shorter, so we don't see that attachment here, right? We don't want to see that. You can taper this if you want to. Let me do that a little bit. I'm not sure if it really needs to be tapered, but it doesn't hurt me to do it. So, and I'm going to just place that, lining up my folded edge with the line that marks the center. See, I only have a little under a 1/8 of an inch between the edge of the window and my attachment, so you cannot make it a whole lot bigger than that 1/4 inch because you will see it and we don't want to see it, right? Okay, now let's do the same thing with the other one. It's got a little angle in there. And I'm just lining it up, bumping it up against the other one. So folded sides against each other. Okay, so now we made that into 2 separate pockets basically. So now I still need to fold on this side and on this side. Now I will see my attachment flaps here, but that's okay. We will cover up with there's some glitter there. We will cover that up with pattern paper, so don't worry about that. Okay, so getting our tunnel page back in, we are going to place this flap on top of the tunnel page. So again, you can line up all sides. So in this, for now, it doesn't matter in what direction you are going to do this. I'm going to remove the tape on the long side. It's basically the bottom of the pocket, and I'm going to align that. Let's put something on here to keep it flat. I'm going to align that on one long side of piece B or A. It doesn't really matter which one is on top. Okay. Give it a quick check for myself. Okay. And I'm going to place some tape over that 1/2 inch. I will hide this with pattern paper probably, but just to be sure. Okay, and now I'm going to remove the tape backing from one side and from these middle strips, and I'm going to leave it on one side because this is such a large pocket. I want to build in a little bit of safety for myself, that I don't stick in places where I'm not ready to stick yet. I'm going to hold this open. And start here. So this is, you need to take your time on this. So this side is down. Try to push this flat. And then I can remove the tape backing here. It actually looks harder than it is. I hope you believe that. Maybe you will experience it for yourself. Okay, so now that is on. And actually the openings of the pockets will go to the outside. So where the pocket is closed, that's your binding side. And I want this to be the back of the page. So the opening of the pockets are now right here, and I'm going to flip it over to work on the front side of the page. So flip it over, we're gonna work here now. So we have 2 pieces of D. Those are going to be flaps for photos. So we can fold and burnish on the score line. So except for PC, it actually comes together pretty quick. And you can fit 2 pieces on here with a little bit of space from top and bottom and in between them. So I'm thinking about 1/8 of an inch to even that out. So let me start with the top one. I'm just going to eyeball this where I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from the top, and then align it with the edge on the right hand side. And then the other one will go where we have about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom and in between our flaps. So, photo flaps there. And then we have our pieces E and F. So this piece was the starter of the booklets for the recipe album, only I've changed it up. So for piece E you have 2 score lines. We're gonna give this piece a 1/8 inch gusset. So you can fold and burnish on both score lines. And if you want to, you could use the booklets as well on this page, right? It's that's also possible. At least I think it's possible. I'm not sure I'm saying that, but I'm wondering if the size of the booklet was interfering with the page size. I'm not sure anymore. It should fit, I'm thinking. Piece F is going to form a pocket. Now you can leave this as a straight pocket, but I really like the angle that we had in that in the booklets from the recipe album. So I'm going to do the same thing here. What I did is we've created our score lines, and then with the side without a score line here on my right hand side, I'm going to the score line on top. And on that score line I'm going to measure, oh I did 1.5, but it should be 1.25. I'm going to measure 1.25 inch inwards, so from the right hand side 1.25 to the left, and then I'm going to align that pencil mark with the end of the score line here at the bottom, and then I'm going to mark that towards the cut edge there, so I can align those 2 points in my paper trimmer to cut an angle in the piece. So that is what we have. So I didn't place my tape all the way to where it should be, but that's fine for now. And then I'm going to miter the corners where our score lines form that intersection. And we can fold and burnish. Now you see that your 1/2 inch here is sticking out a little bit, so you can just cut that off. Just try to not cut into your actual pocket. And here we're good. Yep. Okay, so that's the pocket, and then back to piece E. You can do 2 things. You can fold on your 5/8 inch score line, so your 1/2 inch attachment and your gusset is underneath the piece, and then you can line up the bottom of the pocket with that fold line. So that can work. You can also just lay it completely flat and then you line it up with the 5/8 inch score line, and that's what I'm going to do because it feels a little flatter surface, like a flatter surface. Just pushing one corner down, second corner down. Again, I'm doing the tape because I'm not doing pattern paper all the way to the bottom of this pocket to cover up that strip. And then using the tape just makes that your photo mats or whatever it is that you want to put in the pocket goes in a little easier. And stick the sides down. Okay, so this is just a large pocket in this case. Like in the booklets I made that a divided pocket, right? So you can also do that. And then I have the folded piece, what was this, E, on the 1/2 inch score line, and that's gonna go on the other side of the front of the page. So you can open up your pieces D, I think that's the easiest. And then I'm going to center it on here. Now this I want to measure out a little bit. So I think I have about 3/4 of an inch. Yes. So I make a little tick mark there to help me determine the height. And then I line it up with the cut edge on the left hand side of piece A. Okay. So burnish that, and then the construction of this page is done. Of course you can use magnets on here to keep that all closed. What I did, yeah, I did it right. I wasn't done. In these pockets I've made 2 pieces of cardstock. These are 4 3/8 by 7 3/8. Yep, and then I got my envelope punch board. And let's make some space here. What I did is on the short side I lined it up with the 1 1/8 inch mark. That's basically the first mark that has a measurement here on top. Made a punch, then turn it around and do the same thing from the other side basically. So I did that for both of these, so let's quickly do that. And I'm gonna need that in a bit, but then I've cut out the outer 2 pieces to create a little tab. You can also do this in your paper trimmer, that's all of that works. So I cut that little bit off and this little bit off. Now I try to do that straight, but it's always a little tricky. You don't really know if it's straight, or at least in my case I don't really know if it's straight until I place my pattern paper or my photo mat on there. Then I can always make a little adjustment, of course. So created that little tab there that we can place in here. And then the tab sticks out. You see my edges are sticking out a little bit? Well, I'm just going to cut off a hair on the back side. I'm going to do that in a minute. I don't have to do that right now. I only want the tab to stick out. So I'm going to cut that down on this side a little bit more. But I also have a large piece. This one is, I think it's 8 7/8. And I'm not sure if I did my measurement here completely right, but by 6 7/8. Let me see, this one should also stick out about the same way as the other ones. Oh, it's going in now, but I've got the hinges going in there, right? So then we don't have so much space anymore. So it should be right. But on the long side, I'm also going to make a tab in the center of this piece, at least if I did my mat right. So I'm going to line it up with the, that doesn't look right, with the 3.5, but that's going to be too long, right? I think I'm making this more difficult than it is. I'm gonna do 2 3/4 from both sides, and we'll see what we end up with. 2 3/4, 2 3/4. So that's a little bit of a longer tab. So that's the only, like this is a tab that's about 2 inches. This one is longer. So if I'm saying like, oh, okay, I can make it a little shorter, I can also line it up with the 3-inch mark. I will cut that away, right? So don't worry about it. You can make it bigger. In this measurement you can make this higher, but not lower. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I like that a little bit better. So 3 inches from both sides. And then again I'm going to cut off the outer part. So we can put these in these small pockets with the acetate window, and this one will go in the bigger one, but for now it will fall all the way in. But once we've attached it on our hinge, it will stick out, because then we don't have so much depth, and then you basically get this. So if you want to have the tab the same size as these small ones, then you need to do the 3.5 inch probably. Okay. So, front of the page. I feel that I'm all over the place, but I hope I'm still making more sense than I feel that I am. And then the back of the page. So this is the page constructions, and now I will show you how you can turn this into a one-page folio, really easy. Okay, so I have this page now here. It's a tunnel page base, and I want to make a cover for this so I can have a folio or album that only has that one page in it, so I can wrap up a small gift or something that doesn't hold too much photos. You can do this with any page that you like to use for it, as long as it's based upon a tunnel page. I know there are a few people out there that I'm not sure, because I don't follow a whole lot of people like every video, so I don't really know, but I think I'm pretty sure that people like Scrap Queen, Shelly Geigel, those are some examples that I can come up with pretty quick that don't make their pages starting with a tunnel page as a base. So then you need to do something a little bit different, right, in order to make it into a folio. But a whole lot of people out there use the tunnel page as a base to build their pages on. And every page that's out there that's built upon a tunnel page, you can do this with. There is just a little mat that you need to work with, and it's not that hard. You are always able to use the height of your page with this. You're going to go with the exact same height as your page, which in my case is 9 inches. So that's all I have to remember for the height of my cover. For the width of the pieces that I need to do a little bit of math. So my page is 7 inches. Now this is sticking out in my case, right? So I need to determine for myself, do I mind that it's sticking out of the whole album, or do I want that to fall into the cover? If I want it to fall into the cover, I need to make my page measurement 7 3/8 of an inch. So let's do that. No, let's not do that, because I've already prepared my pieces. Little joke there. So I'm just going to have them stick out. So in my case, I went with the 7 inches of the page. And to that I add 1/2 inch. So 7.5 inches. And if you want to add this in there, you're going to do 7 3/8. Add the 1/2 inch is 7 7/8, right? So now the next thing that I need to think about is, how wide does my gusset need to be? And that depends on several things. Is there a lot to your page? Well, there's not a lot to my page, but I do have a 1/8 inch gusset here. That's the only thing that I need to take in account. Do you embellish very heavy? Do you want to add a lot to the inside covers? So those are things that determine how much space you need. I think in this case I will have enough on 3/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna do here 3/8 of an inch in my case. That can be 1/2 inch, that can be 5/8 of an inch, just depending on how much space you want. So 3/8, and I need to add 3/4. That's how I do the hinge. So I have 3/4 of an inch, and I add 3/8 is 1 and 1/8 of an inch. And then I need to combine these two numbers together. So I have 8 and 5/8 of an inch, and by the height of my page. So that is the piece, those are the pieces that I need. So I've prepared those, so my tabs are gonna stick out, that's all fine. So I have 2, and now we need to make some score marks on them. So the height is, we're not gonna do any scoring on that. We need to score on the 8 and 5/8 inch side. And the first score mark that you need to make is at the number that you came up with right here. the page and add that ½ inch. So in my case that's 7.5 inches. So that's where I'm going to make my first score mark. Then the second score mark that you need to make is at the gusset area. So in my case I'm going to go for a 3/8 inch gusset. So to that 7.5 I'm going to add 3/8 of an inch. 1, 2, 3 is 7 and 7/8 of an inch. That's where I'm going to score again. And then finally, and that's something what I do, I split up this 3/4 inch, the 3/4 inch of the hinge. So the hinge is 3/4 of an inch, and I've split that up into a ½ inch and into a 1/4 inch. So that's the last score mark that I'm going to make is a 1/4 inch away from the second score line. So that's in my case at 8 1/8 of an inch, and that leaves me with a ½ inch right here. Okay, I hope this makes sense, because if you know what to do here, if you understand what I did here, you can do this with any page size that you have. Okay, so now we have done the scoring, we are going to apply some tape on one of these pieces. So just put one to the side, and on one piece we have the dented side facing us. I'm going to apply some tape on the first ½ inch part and on that 1/4 inch part. And it's best if you don't go over your score line, but it's not the end of the world if you do. I'm using a 3/8 inch tape, and then I will use some 1/4 inch tape on the other one, and I will probably go over the score line a little bit. That's fine. Just don't go over your second score line. You really want to keep that one free. Okay, give that a burnish. And now for both pieces, I'm going to fold on both my score lines. Some people, I've seen people do it like this, where you just place it, stick it on top, where you line it up like this on all 4 sides. That works perfectly. It's just whatever you prefer. I like to fold first, so I'm going to fold on the score line that's the most in, so on the 3rd score line and on the 2nd score line, on both pieces. That ½ inch score line, I'm just going to leave it. So that's one, and then on the other one, same thing. So on the 3rd score line and on the 2nd score line. And now I like to place the one without tape on my work surface, and then with the tape I'm going to put on top, lining up the 2 folded edges. So because I have 2 strips of tape, that sometimes makes it a little bit harder to get it done, but so I have more eye for the folded edges than on the rest, because it might just not line up on all 4 sides now. Okay, carefully hold it in place and stick it on top of each other. And now we basically formed our hinge here in the middle. So now I'm going to get my 3/8 inch tape again, and I'm going to place tape on my hinge close to the cut edge. Just make sure you don't go over your ½ inch score line on both sides of the hinge. This one. Pulling it over, and do the same thing here. Again, give that a burnish so you get a good stick. And now we're going to taper the hinge. So I'm just picking it up on the hinge. It will fall nice and flat. And I am going to cut from the ½ inch score line with an angle outwards. And I do that from both sides. done that. So at this point you are ready to put your page on here. I'm not going to place it right now, but what I will do is give it a fit before I'm going to put all my energy in something else and it doesn't fit, right? It should fit, but you never know. So I'm sliding over the page up to the 1/2 inch score line where we've tapered. It should not be able to go any further, and that is a nice fit. So this little 1/4 inch here just helps with having everything lay flat basically in your folio. So this fits, and now when the hinge is in there, I should be able to place this one in here, and it's not able to go any further than that, so that's perfect. But I'm not attaching it right now. I want to show you that you can make this cover a little stronger, because I'm using 80 pound weight cardstock, which is not very strong for a cover, right? So we can do a couple of things to make it stronger and also to make your spine stronger. You could wrap this with Tyvek, for example. I showed that in my hinged folio, how I do that. But what I want to do now is I want to create a second layer, and I'm going to use black cardstock for it. So this page is 9 by, and I'm measuring up to my score line here. It should be 7.5, right? 7.5. So I'm going to cut a piece of black. I'm thinking let's do a 1/8 inch border. So I'm going to cut 7.25 by 8 3/4. 2 pieces. And this is 3/4 of an inch, and then one piece that is, let's do this a little bit more closer, 5/8 of an inch, and then I'm still going to do the 8 3/4. Okay, so I've cut those pieces, and I'm basically just going to do like a double mat on here. It creates some interest with the craft together, but it also makes your cover a little bit stronger, and then this piece will go on the spine. I think that can be fun. Right, so I'm going to do this one first. I'm kind of thinking I'm just going to do that with some double-sided tape. Okay, so let's start with this spine piece here. Kind of wondering, is this the best way of doing it, or should I be doing it while it's like this? I think it doesn't really matter. I'm going to combine it with some wet glue to make it a little easier on myself. Okay, so I have about 1/8 of an inch from top to bottom. Space on top and on bottom. So I try to even that out. So I stuck down one side, and then I turned the hinge over to the other side to give a nice even stick on both sides. Give that a good burnish. So this will make for a little bit of a more straighter spine basically. And then I will show you one piece of this, because otherwise it's going to take way too long, and I'm guessing you get the point of this. So I'm just doing some double-sided tape around the edge, and I will combine this with some wet glue. So I put a little bit of wet glue on the tape, not too much, for some wiggle time. I fill in the rest of the space a little bit, and I try to make it as flat as possible, and just aim for an even border all around, and try to line it up with this piece that I already have on the spine, right? So I think this, something like this, although something is not quite straight here, but it's fine. Okay, so this made this cover a whole lot stronger, and I will do the same thing on the back, but I guess, yeah, well, like I said, you get the point. So you can determine for yourself, do you want to add pockets or flaps to this front and back side cover? You can do all of those things. You could add another booklet from the recipe album, for example, but just make sure that you have enough space in the gusset area that you've chosen. So I already gave this a dry fit. So I'm going to remove the tape backing on one side of my hinge. And then I'm going to slide this over. I always start with a little bit of an angle, but then try to go back to straight, if that makes sense. And because if you go too much on an angle, you can go over your score line. And when you go straight, you're not able to go any further than the score line. And then I open this up. This is the closest point to where the tape is, to give it a good burnish. Close all of this, go to the other side, get a tool to remove the tape backing here, peel that away and give that a good burnish for a good stick. And actually what I wanted to say is you can also use the elements that are in the front and back cover of the original album of where you got the page from. In this case there is no album, but you can use those elements probably on your cover parts as well. So sliding this one in place, we have a nice one-page folio. So I probably will do something here, and I have some scraps left over from my recipe album that I'm thinking about using on this to just have a little nice folio basically. So yeah, that's basically how you do it. One page into a quick folio for a gift. So just remember the math that we did here. The page, add ½ inch, determine your gusset, add 3/4 inch, and the score marks that you need to make are this number, and then from that number you add that number, and then a 1/4 inch to split up this one for the hinge, right? I hope it makes sense. Once you understand this, you can do this for any size page. If you have any questions, feel free to always leave a comment down below or send me an email. People seem to be able to find me for it, so you can always ask questions about it if you have any questions. So for now I want to say thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.